Alright, YouTube folks, feel free to go ahead and skip ahead about a minute. I'm going to give people a chance to get into the chat before I do a deck tech. Yeah, that looks a little better. I was going to say this isn't Brightline, but lo and behold, there it is in all its adorable glory. So, hold on. Hello, this is Hunter's phone. Oh. Okay. I believe he has forgotten his phone at home here. But if you have any important information, I suppose I can send him on Facebook. Just want to check that either. Okie dokie. Well, I bet that's probably your best bet. Otherwise, maybe try to get in touch with the other coworkers. Alright, thank you. Alright, bye-bye. Sorry about that. My roommate forgot his phone. All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, a site specifically for Legacy Death and Taxes, and I'm also participating in the Legacy Premier League this season. Today I'm going to be testing some blue-white Stoneblade as part of a donation stream. So I got this donation while I was at Latin Academy, and the person said, "Hey, don't worry about doing this until Latin Academy is over." And the request was for a blue-white back to basics stream, but they said I could change the deck list if I wanted. And then that whole Deathrite Shaman ban thing happened, and so I think the composition of the blue-white Stoneblade decks might change a little bit. So I'm going to stream with two different lists. This is the first one I saw that I liked from the Legacy Classic. I believe this was the second place deck list by Jeremy Tibbetts. And I like a lot of what's going on here. So let's compare this to what I was playing previously, because it is very different. So the build that I was playing previously was heavy on True Name Nemesis and back to basics. That's kind of the hallmark of this build, right? Is you're heavy on strong 3-drop plays. Comparing that to the build that I'm going to be playing today, the curve has shifted downwards significantly. I have more early interaction here in the form of Spell Pierce and Spell Snare, and it's off screen now, but I also have 1 Engineered Explosives. And I think the Engineered Explosives is probably going to be pretty good, because if you're expecting some threats like, say, Nimble Mongoose, that normally can't be dealt with by traditional removal like Swords, Plowshares, or Path to Exile. This is a way to get around that. This can also sweep some early stuff off the battlefield. I feel like this deck list is solid. I'm not 100% sure about the inclusion of Brightling in this deck. It begs the obvious question, is this card better than True Name Nemesis in this shell? And I don't know the answer to that, but like the reason I wanted to try this deck list was to figure that out. Like, is the mana sink that is Brightling good enough in this shell to warrant playing some number of Brightlings over True Names? So, since this build does not have Back to Basics, it instead is using Wasteland as its mana denial plan. And I believe my previous version ran 20 or 21? Yeah, 20 lands. And this version is running 23 since it is running those Wastelands. I'm not 100% sure whether or not the Wasteland plan is better than the Back to Basics plan, but it will certainly hit decks like Delver harder that can operate on just a couple of lands. Oh man, that's great. Morning, JD. So M. Riggins says, I enjoyed watching Jeremy at the Classic. I definitely saw a Miracles player tournaments away a True Name and then concede to Brightling. Yeah, so that's the thing, right? So, like, if Rug and Miracles are going to be super popular, then Brightling's quite good. But on the other hand, against something like Death and Taxes, True Name Nemesis is just going to be better. So we'll see where that shakes out. The other reason I really wanted to play this deck was the sideboard. It's got a Baneslayer Angel, guys. I love Baneslayer Angel. I haven't played Baneslayer, Baneslayer in Legacy in quite some time, and I enjoy doing it. And against certain decks, like, this is just game over, borderline unanswerable. It dodges common removal like Lightning Bolt, Push, and Decay. So I'm really excited to be playing this card. More generally, the sideboard is super hateful. Like, look at this pile over here. This is the anti-combo side of the sideboard. That is disgusting. That's so much interaction. Would not be too worried about getting paired against something like, say, Red-Black Reanimator or Storm. I feel like I've really got the unfair decks covered. And as far as the fair decks go, like, I have Equipment, I have True Name, I have Brightling, Jace, Verdicts. I feel pretty good about this list as a whole. So today I'll try out this build, and then maybe tomorrow, Sunday, or Monday, I'll give the other Blue-White Stoneblade build that I was looking at a go. But I don't really want to, like, commit to a second deck list before I see the next Legacy Challenge results, because there might be something interesting there. All right, that's really all I've got to say. I'm going to go ahead and jump into a league. I played some Eldrazi off stream yesterday and went 9-1, so I picked up another trophy. Hoping to get a couple more and kind of stay up on the leaderboard here. Oh, Julian, thank you very much for hosting. So to anyone who just joined in, hello, my name is Phil Gallagher. Today we will be running a Blue-White Stoneblade list featuring Brightling, among other things. And let's fight. I don't love this hand, however, I am going to keep it. It has a very good mix of cards to fight against any sort of fair deck. I don't have, like, Counter Magic or Cantrips currently, which is going to suck because I'm probably paired against a combo deck now. But if I had gotten paired against something like Rug or D&T or any sort of mid-range deck, this hand would have been stellar. Hey, a cantrip. So next turn I can brainstorm and fetch and kind of shape this hand a little bit. So this is fine. This is better than just like trying to shuffle in the dark. Oh man, you're just gonna get like sneak attacked. Yeah. Well, that's a thing. So now what? So my real question is, do I play any more cards or do I just concede? If my opponent puts in a Grizzlebrand, I can like try to Swords to Plowshares that. But that's not the best prospect. I can... I'm gonna start with the Brainstorm. That is not a good Brainstorm. So I'm past the point where this Wasteland is useful. That can go back. And this EE is not doing anything. So that can go back. Yep, that's an Emrakul. So I'm going to fetch to shuffle. I don't think I'm actually going to pull a land out of my deck, though. It's just going to get annihilated. I can get a Tundra and Brainstorm. I don't know that there's a lot of value in doing that, though. Like, I don't actually know what I'm looking for if I do that. So I think I'm just going to let that go. So this is somewhat good news for me, because if my opponent had Grizzlebrand, they sneak attack in the Grizzlebrand first, and then draw a whole bunch of cards. So they don't have Grizzlebrand right now. They might have another Emrakul, and I'll just die. So, under the assumption that they don't actually have a Grizzlebrand, I'm just going to play out this island. And we'll see if my logic is correct. I die if my opponent finds a creature, so I'm fine with being very aggressive with that Force of Will there. I have 2 Swords of Plowshares again. Am I comfortable with the Brainstorm? I'd really love to fetch away these Swords to Plowshares right now, but that's not going to happen. I'll bury a Wasteland and a Swords to Plowshares, play a Plains, and pass. Hey, welcome! Currently playing Blue-White Stoneblade. I'm on the ropes against Show and Tell. This drops my Force of Will, so my opponent can drop a cantrip, but I just, like, absolutely have to try to resolve a threat. So I'm not going to Wasteland my opponent. The Wasteland does basically nothing, and I'm 1 mana away from just holding up a Force. What a beating. Yeah, the first round of the Legacy Premier League was absolutely amazing. Noah Walker had some amazing plays involving Bomat Courier. That was probably the highlight of the whole stream. Alright, so you remember that giant pile of anti-combo hate I talked about? Let's board that in. Alright, maybe not the surgicals. Pierce, not snare. So I get Pierce, Fluster, Invasive Surgery, Needle, Beb. Can consider Disenchant, but it's a little weak. Let's figure out what I don't want. So I don't want EE. I don't want Swords. I don't want Snare. On Julian's site, there is a schedule for when everyone will be playing, yes. My week will be August 1st, so that's 2 weeks from now. My pod has Julian, unfortunately. Gosh, who else is in my pod? Should know this, but I'm mostly focused on the fact that, like, I'm going to lose to Julian, and then I just have to beat the other two. But I'm not worried about anybody else other than Julian. Like, Julian I auto-lose to. Everyone else I have, like, real game against. The Rat Stomping deck didn't actually do anything. So I might disagree with you. So I think I'm going to cut a Jitte and a Stoneforge. It's a little awkward to play Stoneforge with only one piece of, like, 2 Stoneforges with 1 piece of equipment left in the deck. But that's probably fine. DNT24, thank you very much for subscribing. Yeah, Echo. It's not an argument. It's insane, and the people who are saying it's not good or are skeptical just haven't played a lot of games with it. Like, I really believe that's what it boils down to. Like, I don't know how you can play 20 games with Breitling or 20 matches with Breitling and just not think it's absolutely insane. I mean, it's Julian. I assume he is on elves. I feel like that is a safe assumption. Like, me playing Death and Taxes is a safe assumption. This hand's a little awkward, but I have Force of Will as a piece of protection. I have a Brainstorm to try to fix this hand, and I can fight relatively well against just, like, throwing in a sneak attack or show and telling in an omniscience. I would love it if Julian did not play elves. That would make me very happy personally. I think I'm willing to wait one more turn before brainstorming. I really cannot afford to get brainstorm locked. I also thought about disenchanting that pedal. That's actually a really good draw. I'm going to operate under the assumption that my opponent did not bring in Blood Moon against, like, a 6 basic land deck and fetch a Tundra here. Okay, so I'm going to be keeping all of this stuff. I'll put back Jason Breitling. I don't see myself playing either one of those for the next couple of turns. And I'm going to play out this so that I kind of pierce and force up. So my hope is that my opponent goes for it this turn, counters, I counter back, win the counter war, and then hopefully I get to, like, Snapcast or Spell Pierce something else as well. That's sort of the way I'm hoping this plays out. So right now, I have Spell Pierce, Snapcaster, Spell Pierce, and Force of Will up. Seems very good. Sneak attack, you say. And to that I say, Spell Pierce. Oh no, I actually don't have Snapcaster Spell Pierce up. Now I actually do. I kind of want to ponder and try to hit another land, but that is a little bit greedy. So I'm not going to do it. Yeah, I'm hoping to like nab something with a Snapcaster Spell Pierce this turn. Otherwise, at their end step, I will Snapcaster Brainstorm. So this is sort of a spot which exemplifies why sort of like non-wasteland blue-white Stoneblade can be really good, because your mana is so much more stable. If this wasteland was a like blue source, I would feel so much better about my current position, and I could have like pondered on my turn. But now that is not an option. Oh boy. That's very good. So on my turn, I can disenchant that. So I could Snapcaster Brainstorm now, but then if my opponent just has like Show and Tell, it's going to resolve. And they could like Show and Tell Omni Emrakul, and I couldn't beat that. Or I can just let this resolve, keep up Force of Will, play Snapcaster Mage as Ambush Viper end of turn, and then disenchant Defense Grid on my turn. I think I like that better, and I just like give up a Brainstorm. Or I guess that doesn't work because it would cost 5 mana to play the Snapcaster Mage. But like I'm okay with not doing anything in order to just like play around losing the game. I'm going to... Oh, man, opponent's half 6. That's great info. I will take all of that. I think I want the 2 lands first. Alright. So, I'll attempt the force. Alright, well, Reb is happening. This is actually okay for me unless my opponent also has Emrakul. Then it is much less okay. Additional Lotus Petals would suck. Alright. So now I can bounce this Emrakul, take 7 from the Grizzlebrand, my opponent gets a bunch more cards. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Okay, do I need another land? What am I doing on my turn? I need 3 mana to Council's Judgment, and if I play another land, I can also have Snapcaster Spell Pierce up for a Force of Will. So I do want to draw the land that's on top of my library. I think I'm going to fetch away the Ponder and get a Tundra right here so that I don't have to tap my Caracas unless my opponent has Force of Will. Yeah, there's the Arcane Artisan. Alright, now I have to hope my opponent is out of gas. That's bad. I'm liking the way this is going. We can just bounce the Grizzlebrand, hit for 7. Okay. Okay. So I can bounce the Emrakul. And then my opponent gets 7 new cards. That sucks for me. But I can't really afford to let 6 permanents go down the drain. Rex Volpine, thank you very much for subscribing. I appreciate your support. It's helping me to do the things that I love. But we're in a tight spot right now. It's one that I can probably wiggle out of. But it is by no means guaranteed. Like, if I get to bounce the Emrakul this turn, my opponent attacks with the Grizzlebrand, then draws 7 and whiffs on another enabler to put one of those creatures back into play, I actually start pulling ahead. And if my opponent draws 7 here and can't produce a blocker, I do just have lethal. And if they go for like a sneak attack, I have the Beb for it. So they would need a 3rd show and tell. Or sneak attack plus a piece of counter magic. Alright, there's the 3rd show and tell. What are you bringing to class? That is not going to do what you want it to do. I get to untap my Caracas. Chad, I don't believe it, but I think we've got it. So I bounce, pump, pump. I'm going to play a Pithing Needle before all of this. Can I pay for this? So I bounce, pump, and I can still pay. Now my opponent can't Kozilek's return me, which is something that I was worried about. It could still, like, echoing truth some of my stuff, and that'd be annoying. So I will pay. Man, they're fighting like they're still in this game. That was a strong bluff. They really committed to that bluff, and I respect that. All right, so we won that one despite really having trouble getting initial pressure that game. So maybe I do want this other Stoneforge Mystic, especially on the draw, because it's easier to hold up some mana and play this as a threat. So maybe I should cut either the the True Name or the Brightling or a Jace instead. I could also cut the Supreme Verdict. I was keeping it in because, like, sometimes they just show and tell a fatty, and, like, that just beats that and it can't be countered. Maybe that's ambitious. Maybe this is too slow on the draw. Where on the draw, if they're trying to, like, go off quickly, then I don't have, like, a 4-mana out as a realistic answer. 3 Stoneforges is probably still fine. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Like, keeping Arcane Artisan in mind, keeping the Verdict in as another out to that is probably fine as well. This hand is shaping up very nicely. So I have to decide right now whether or not I want to respect Blood Moon this game. I showed my opponent that Caracas, which means they might have brought them back in. I think I'll respect Blood Moon. Okay. It's a great draw. I could get basic planes here and blow this up, but then I don't have multiple blue sources, which I kind of want. I feel like I'm well suited towards a decently long fight. So I should just make sure my mana's good. I'd love, love, love to find a fetch land. Like, I'd love to find a fetch land so I can get another blue source. And I kind of want to sandbag this Caracas for a little while. But I don't think I want to take that risk yet. I can just play this Caracas out as a safety net for, like, land, show and tell, Lotus Petal. But then it lets my opponent know that I have it and they won't just go for show and tell on a creature. I'm just going to go ahead and play this out. No, I'm going to jam Brightling on my next turn when I can play it with Invasive Surgery up still. Right, but then there's also just, like, show and tell creature, which is only 2 cards, and I can beat that with Invasive Surgery. Just going to kind of smooth my draw a little bit with this. That's solid. Now I can leave up both Invasive Surgery and Spell Pierce on my turn. Or I can play Stoneforge and leave up both, which I think I'll do. I can play, like, this turn I can play Stoneforge, leave up 2 mana for 2 different counter spells. Then the following turn, if I fetch Tundra, I can leave up both Pierce, Invasive Surgery, and Batterskull put in, while also playing Brightling. This is pretty good. Although I will need to shuffle one of these cards away. Maybe that means I should just... I'll shuffle away this Ponder. That way, in case the Stoneforge gets countered, I still have a threat. Hey, that ponder's back. So I can go for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage this turn, leaving up 2 pieces of disruption. 3 pieces of disruption if I count Caracas. I don't want to ponder because then I'll be dropping one of my 2 pieces of disruption because I don't have another blue source. So how long until you get an artist to Photoshop your face over Brightlings as your new icon? That's pretty hilarious, actually. I really like that idea. Yeah, and NW Robinson, I play blue spells sometimes. Blue cards are really good. They're very powerful. I'm just an evil person, and I prefer taxation. Oh, hey, it's Arkin. I don't actually know what Arkin's been playing post-ban. I watched one Delver stream a while back, but I don't know if that's actually still true. NW Robinson, the second pump might not have done anything. You might be right there. So if I suspect my opponent is on Delver, how does that change what I want to lead on? My hand's a little awkward because I'd like to be able to counterspell, but if I just play out Tundra, my opponent can Wasteland me, and then that becomes much harder to do. So maybe I should just lead on Fetch, Basic Island, Pass, and play Stoneforge on 2, and just treat the counterspell as something that I'm not going to use in the early game. This will play around a Stifle. Well, JK. It's Loam. I mean, we did successfully play around Stifle. We did not get stifled. I need information to sculpt out my next couple of turns. So I can let that resolve and just Snapcaster plow that. It'll be throwing my Tundra to the wasteland, but that's fine. I won't say I'm a brainstorm expert or anything, but I've cast a few brainstorms in my day. Alright. Opponent is down to 1 card. I have Force of Will back up. I have a clock. I'm going to have a Stoneforge Mystic for... I'll probably just get Batterskull. Pretty tempted to just force that. My opponent's going to be Hellbent, and if I put this Batterskull in play, that's a ton of pressure. I think I'm fine with forcing that. I think the Brainstorm is likely to Brainstorm lock me, so I don't really want to cast that card all that much. Yeah, I'm essentially giving my opponent 1 draw step to deal with this Stoneforge Mystic, or I pull very, very, very far ahead. That's what I'm doing. And my hope is that I spike a blue land. But that did not happen. I'm going to cast Ponder this turn, try to find a fetch land, which I did. So next turn, I can Brainstorm and fetch away the Batterskull. So what do I want, my 4th land, or do I want my Snapcaster Mage? I probably want the 4th land so that I can have blue, blue, white, white with basics. And just be, like, good on mana for the rest of the game. I don't really have... Alternatively, like, I can just, like, take the Snapcaster Mage and, like, end of turn Snapcaster Brainstorm, not fetch, pick up this fetch land, and then the second time around get the Batterskull. Yeah, that's better. Opponent saw the line. So I'm just going to pass the turn here to leave up my counterspell, and I'll miss a land drop this turn. which kind of sucks, but I don't want my opponent just, like, jamming a knight. Man, do I know how to call him or what? And now I can have... And now I can brainstorm with this, or I could save it for Snapcaster Counterspell, but that would mean fetching a that would mean fetching a basic, a non-basic. I'd have to get Tundra in order to get my third blue there. So maybe I should just, like, aggressively brainstorm this turn. With my Snapcaster Mage. Nah. I'll regular brainstorm this turn, fetch away Batterskull, maybe, like, try to find a true name or something. And then I can leave up, like, a second Snapcaster brainstorm or, like, Snapcaster Ponder for later. You, like, snap brainstorm end of turn for flexibility. I could be on board with that. So, tapping out's kind of scary, but I think I'm going to give my opponent one turn to resolve something in order to dump this into play. Bear with two guns, we were very glad that we held up that counter, yes. Just draw land. Arkin, the top of your deck is fire. Okay, so how do I want to do this? I can just sacrifice the Germ, then spend my turn equipping, or I can just sack a Snapcaster Mage. I'll sack a Snapcaster Mage. I'm going to play my land and hold my Brainstorm. I don't know what I am looking for yet. And I'm just going to be real patient with that. Actually, I should probably brainstorm now to try to find a Wasteland to get rid of Maze of Ith. I like that. Or we could just find all the threats in the world and that. Oh, buddy. So I can Wasteland Maze, play Brightling, or I can not Wasteland Maze and play both True Name and Brightling. That's probably excessive. I should probably just, like, push the damage in case my opponent gets a Wasteland. Like, getting my Wasteland wastelanded would be devastating. So I think I'll put back Stoneforge on bottom, followed by True Name, then play Brightling and Wasteland them. Yeah, that was a disgusting thing. Why would I want to play True Name over Brightling? Like, True Name's not particularly answerable, but Brightling pushes more damage. Okay, does it change the clock? So I'm going to hit for 6 this turn. That puts to 13. Brightling could be 5, 9, 10, 11. Or True Name would just be 4, 7, 8, 9. Okay, it doesn't change the clock. Sure, so I'll play True Name first. I might fetch away the Stoneforge, to be fair. Okay. Opponent being at 15 is a very interesting number. So I can go hit for 7. I wonder if my opponent has the 4th Punishing Fire in hand. If they do it, then I want to move the Batterskull to True Name. But I don't think I'm going to play around that. I think I just want to like play Brightling with a bunch of mana up. So Invasive Surgery is really good for Loam and Punishing Fire. Verdict's great. Baneslayer Angel's insane. Needle and Snare, I guess, are worth consideration. Path's okay. I guess Disenchant hits Chalice, which I do care about quite a bit. Okay, I guess Invasive Surgery just hits Loam. Sorry, it's just sorcery. So that's actually probably not good enough then. Good catch. So I think I want these 5 cards. Let's figure out what I don't want. The Snare can hit a lot of things, but it doesn't hit, like, Lily, Knight, and they can play 2-drops on turn 1, so if my opponent has a Chalice, that doesn't actually answer it when I'm on the draw. Maybe this is a matchup where I'm not supposed to force. And I'm just supposed to, like, try to play a fair attrition game with them, because I have, like, the equipment and the True Names. Maybe force is important. I can see trimming on Pierces. No, I don't think Surgical's particularly playable against Loam. I'm not sure about, like, Force versus Pierce. I think I'm going to try keeping the Pierces. This is the second time that, like, these being wastelands instead of just basics has been rough. If I had one castable card, I would probably keep this hand. Especially after my opponent mulliganed. Guess this'll do. Alright, note to self, Phil. Don't play the wasteland version next time. My opponent's on a mulligan and used one card to accelerate that chalice out early. I'm going to see if I can cripple them and buy some time. The answer is no. Alright, well, chalice is really on one. However, we're going to try to lock my opponent out of this game. Let the cripple fight begin. I'm probably counterspelling literally whatever this is, and then wasting my opponent off that Bayou. Oh my god, no! No! I'm committing. I'm gonna counterspell this life from the Loam and try to waste them off the Bayou again. I don't think I have another out at this point. I can't beat, like, them just having infinite lands. Yeah, I have EE. I have EE as something that I can draw to wipe out the diamond and the chalices. But, like, if I just counterspell this, it forces them to draw a land and then dredge the Loam back. I'm doing it. Fuck. Oh god, there's a punishing fire there too now, so there's a win condition. Well, like, my hand was really bad after the mulligan, so, like, I don't regret taking the line that I did. It did not work out, but it's fine. And there's Baron Moore in there too. Well, that's a little late. So I can Wasteland if I'd like. I don't think that gets me anywhere. I'm just going to play another basic and pass the turn. This represents a force of will, at the very least. God, why? Alright, we're pretty dead this time. I only have 2 basic planes in the deck, so I want to fetch those both right now, since I'm not getting value off of, like, cantrip shuffles. Just so I don't draw basic planes. We'll just draw a fetch land instead, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. This is rough, chat. Am I actually dead, though? Like, hypothetically, if I draw my, my engineered explosives, I wipe out Diamond Chalice Chalice, I can Swords a Knight, and then I have, like, Brainstorm Ponder to do things that matter. My opponent doesn't currently have a threat. And I now have a threat. Kind of. I have a 5th island, right? Yes. Yeah, the cards are bugged on Magic Online. They do things they're not supposed to do. Like, show pretty pictures of Emrakul. Yeah, there was an update a month or 2 ago that caused cards to start doing that for some unknown reason. So Sean, we are currently playing against Arkan, who is on Loam. I am playing Blue-White Stoneblade, featuring the mistake that is Wasteland. I regret registering Wasteland in this deck. So 5, 6, 7, 8. So I can play and redeploy Batterskull this turn. Let's do that. So if Arkan has to keep like punishing firing my Batterskull twice every turn, then I'm okay with this. It's when he drops a giant knight that I can't answer that things start to become problematic. Yeah. So every time I draw a land, I will get to redeploy Batterskull once. Savannah, Barrenmoor, Bayou. Ugh. I mean, the good news is that EE is sounding better and better and better every minute. The bad news is everything else about this situation. I'm not too worried about the clock. Like, Arkan is either going to, like, draw a threat that ends me, or I'm going to wiggle my way out of this within the next 2 to 3 turns. That probably does it. Because I can redeploy Batterskull, and my opponent pluses. Yeah, so this is a big turn. If my opponent sticks pretty much anything else here, I will concede. So there are still worlds where I draw like a True Name Nemesis and can get there, depending on like where the Lily loyalty sits. Like I could play Batterskull this turn, like Lily minus, get rid of it. But I'm on pretty thin odds. You could also get like a Council's Judgment. At this point, I'm kind of like curious about what Arkan's threat base is post-board. If we haven't seen anything like a knight, like there was the Garuk that he milled earlier, and this Lily. I'm really surprised I haven't seen like any knights. Okay, no, he's milled over 2 Bobs, I guess. All right, Rex Sage, that's really good to know about. I'm going to take one last draw step and then concede. Then I'll probably like draw EE this turn and keep playing. True Name, you were a little late to the party. You were so close to being what I needed. Actually, maybe I'm supposed to play that needle too. Too late. This hand's a little shaky, but I'm going to keep. This is a list that got second place at the SCG Open. Sorry, the SCG Classic. So I'm giving it a whirl. I don't like it. I don't like the Wastelands in the deck. Mox Diamond is the best card in that deck. I will 100% Spell Pierce that. Well, I don't think I want my opponent to have any cards with that Bob. I'm going to go ahead and Swords to Plowshares. And then I have to make a decision about Wastelanding. I'm inclined to do it to keep my Stoneforge from potentially getting, like, Abrupt Decayed easily. But I do have a lot of fat in my hand, and sticking Jace next turn if I draw a land would be pretty hot. Like, if my opponent goes, like, play Knight, and I just, like, draw a land and go Jace Bounce, that's stellar. But if I miss on a land, it's considerably less good for me. Like, again, if this had just been any colored source, I would have gotten to, like, Swords and put in Batterskull this turn. But that's not what's that's no, just no. I think I'm in a Wasteland. But it's very close. Always with the Loam. There aren't very many of those in that deck. be Punishing Fire too. I think Arkin misplayed there. I think he was supposed to maze the Stoneforge, so let the Germ do damage and put the Grove back in hand. I'm going to Brainstorm to hit the 5th land for Baneslayer here. Or no, I guess that's not a misplay because you can still tap that. Never mind, I take that back. Did not play around that. Thank you very much for resubbing. Of note, finding a Wasteland now means I get to push a pretty substantial amount of damage. Actually, let's just make it so this thing can never die this turn. And then I'll wait another turn on my Brainstorm. Yeah, Brightling's nuts. Like, everyone who actually tests that card is so sold on it. I don't think Containment Priest is particularly good right now. I I think it's less necessary if you're playing Remorseful Clerics in the main deck. If you're not playing the Clerics, then it probably makes sense to go and play some Containment Priest in the sideboard. But like with Cleric, I don't see a great need to go and do that. Second Chalice and 1 is kind of daggers. Am I willing to hit for 9 this turn? I should probably save the Wasteland for when I can do lethal in one go. You mean Containment Priest? Yeah, Containment Priest is kind of important for that matchup. But I think there are other ways to fight that. You'll see what I mean when my deck list for the Legacy Premier League goes live. I would not take Pleasant Kenobi's opinions on Death and Taxes seriously. For what that's worth. I guess I don't really need to do this brainstorm this turn. He's doing that to get my F6 value. It will be available on Julian's website. It's Julian. Well, that's not good. So I can end step, put in Snapcaster Mage. There's still the Punishing Fires in his hand, though. So no end of turn Snapcaster Mage. Oh, rough. I'll be comfortable conceding if my Ponder doesn't reveal like a Council's Judgment. Or, sorry, my brainstorm. Okay. Okay. So I have... Yeah, this goes places. So I can Council's Judgment away one walker, snap Council's Judgment away the second walker, then just have two wolves to clean up somehow. Those still might just win the game on their own, though. So I need to get rid of this guy this turn before a Giant Knight appears, I think. Actually, no. If a Giant Knight appears, it'll just get wrapped up in the Supreme Verdict, so I'll get rid of Lily. That's a problem for future Phil to worry about. Please just play. Oh my god, no! Okay. Well, I guess I'll... No, I'll take another hit. And then Verdict. Yes, I'm aware my wasteland just got wastelanded. I'm racing my own clock here more than anything else. I might get this. Golgari Charm. Boo! Rough. Alright, I no longer can cast this counterspell. Wow. Well played. Well played. Regenerate all the creatures. That was a hell of a match. Wow. Just kind of like reeling over how interesting that was. So I'm going to take 30 seconds and run to the restroom, and then we'll go into round 3. We are currently 1-1. What do you mean it sucks that the game ended that way? That game was awesome. That game was absolutely stellar. It was well played by both sides. There was a lot of back and forth interaction, some huge swingy plays, especially with like both of the Golgari charms. I have no complaints about how that game went. I am on roughly the 75 you have below the stream. My opponent on Mono Red Sneak suggested I take out all the swords to plowshares against him. Said that's what Moxel normally does. Thoughts? Let me look at the deck list. So against a Mono Red Sneak Attack deck, I'd be looking at boarding in like these sorts of things. It may be that the way the numbers work is you have so many cards that you want to bring in because you'd rather fight on the stack than on the battlefield that you actually do want the Swords to Plowshares to come out. So I could see that. Like, just thinking about that matchup, like, what are you going to board out? Like, you'd probably board out Verdict. You'd probably trim your threats, just not any particular threats, but you'd probably trim about 2 threats, maybe the Jitte. Like, maybe you trim, like, Jitte, 2 of these. Maybe this is too slow. And then most of the rest of the cards are like counterspells and a core density of threats you need to leave in, right? So if you want more counterspells, then, like, I can see to make the numbers work, you want these Swords to Plowshares out. Or alternatively, like, you keep the Jaces in and you trim something else. Oh, the mono white D&T list? I'd probably play this, this. Probably get rid of Jitte. trim one of these. Probably like trim some stone forges. Probably trim these. Maybe trim a crusader. Yeah, I could see trimming or cutting swords to plowshares. I'd probably play Path, though. Like, Path on things like Worldspine Worm and Grizzlebrand can be pretty good there. Yeah, I don't think it's crazy to, like, get rid of your swords to plowshares there. Sorry. What do you mean AK? Accumulated knowledge? Yeah, if AK is accumulated knowledge, I don't know that that's going to be worth your time. I don't think that really saw much play prior to Deathrite Shaman anyway. Oh, and Arkin, if you're still here, the chat was very impressed with how you played that game, by the way. This is not an amazing hand. Yeah, I don't think I want to play a card. I'm on the draw. Am I on the draw? I'm on the play. This isn't really a very good hand on the play. I can't really, like, leverage my position, but I guess I can ponder turn one. Whatever. Yeah, I don't think I want to play... Oh, I was... Nope, I just looked at that backwards. Yeah, whatever. I guess on the draw, like, I get one more card to help smooth this out. I just hope I don't have to force on turn one. Yeah, sorry, to finish my thought from before. I don't think I want to play a card that requires you to see 3 to 4 copies of it over the course of a game in order for them to be considered good. If my opponent's a combo deck, I'm now going to have multiple pieces of interaction, so that's good. Sure, like, Predict takes a little bit of setup, but those are cards that are going to be in your deck anyway, right? And they're cards that you're going to be using anyway. So I'm just going to pass the turn here. I don't feel the need to brainstorm right now. What the hell? All right, I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna brainstorm. So I don't want this Swords to Plowshares for sure. And beyond that, I don't know that I have enough information about my opponent to know whether or not I want this Council's Judgment. They might be like a Jace deck, in which case keeping this around is good. But I think I'm just going to rely on the power of counterspells for right now, and just fetch this away because I'm not sure if I want it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that Wasteland either, but I kind of just want to keep hitting land drops. So I'm going to play another fetch, and if my opponent doesn't do anything, I will Snapcaster Brainstorm at their end step. Is my opponent just like fucking High Tide with accumulated knowledge? So in the absence of not knowing what my opponent is doing, I think I want to leave some mana up rather than like play Brightling. I think leaving double Spell Pierce up is probably pretty good. Am I fine with that counterspell? Yes. Okay. God, how do I keep drawing these things? I guess that one makes sense. Kind of sucks that I don't have a third white to hold that up, but I have a Spell Pierce to protect it. So this is just a draw 2. I guess I can Spell Pierce that. Man, I am just so regretting having these wastelands in the deck. I'm going to pack this one in pretty quickly, I think. I really need a brainstorm. I'm going to need multiple cards to get through what's going on over there. Yes, Dutton, I've been complaining about the wastelands that I put in this list for the past hour, so I agree. So like sometimes you try a build and you figure out what's wrong with it pretty quickly, and that's what happened here. I still stand by my claim that I think accumulated knowledge is terrible. But my opponent has drawn 3 copies this game, so that makes it look good. Well, I guess I'm getting punished for not playing this wasteland. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. So I might stay in this long enough. Never mind. I was going to say, I might stay in this long enough to see what other threats my opponent has, but if they're just going to Fate Seal me with Jace, I probably won't see another threat. Yeah, at least in game 1, this is going to feel pretty terrible. I think I'm just going to call it here. I don't feel like I'm getting out of that. Alright, so I think I want Needle. Snare is probably fine. Flusterstorm's probably fine. I'll consider playing some Surgicals to just surgical their stupid accumulated knowledges to not have to deal with that in the long game. Because I'm going to have a lot of cards that are going to be, like, pretty mediocre. Wait, is it? Alright, hold on. So I'll also consider, like, no, I'm just going to play around back to basics rather than, like, sideboarding Disenchant for it. Alright, let's figure out what I don't want and go from there. I don't want these swords. I'll have to, like, Spell Pierce pretty aggressively in order to get my value out of those. EE probably isn't the greatest. I might keep a Verdict for something like Mentor, but I don't feel like my opponent is going to tap out with their build. I feel like they're mostly going to be relying on Jace to win. So I might not even play that. Oh, so I definitely don't want 3 Surgicals. But maybe I do need both Verdicts. And maybe I back off the Force of Wills, because they're not that good. They're hard counters, which are nice. Oh yeah, so maybe I go up 1 more Spell Pierce, down to just 1 Force. Yeah, I also do think that my opponent will side out back to basics. Although it did look pretty good against me that game. I'll keep this. So, like, I have an early play in Stoneforge Mystic. I have time to draw lands for Jace. I'm going to get aggressive here. I don't plan on using this Spell Pierce for the next couple of turns, so if I cripple my opponent's early development, it could be very good for me. And if my opponent answers this Stoneforge, great. God damn it! Oh man, you remember that time where I aggressively Spell Pierced? That was a good time. YOLO. Yeah, where's the Wasteland when I needed it, though? I'm just gonna, like, keep throwing haymakers at my opponent until they die. Wow, having to cycle the cast out rather than, like, save it for a couple of turns to deal with the Jace. That's rough. Hey man, if that accumulated knowledge had been a predict, you could have drawn 2 cards with that. I'm taking this play no matter what this turn, so I'm fine with doing that before the Jace, even though, like, that's probably not technically correct. So I'm going to hold up Snapcaster's Spell Pierce in case, like, if that'll work, I'll just do that on whatever they play. Otherwise, I'll counterspell it. Well, we shouldn't get any new deck dumps till Saturday, right? All right, they've had enough there. So let the record show that the reason why I won that game was because I just Spell Pierced a cantrip on turn 1. That's what did that. My opponent kept a landlight hand and then did not have the opportunity to cantrip for a turn or two, and I pulled way, way ahead accordingly. So if you're ever on kind of a weak hand and you don't think you can beat your opponent, sometimes you can just, like, try to mise them by not countering what is a critical card for the matchup, but by just trying to stop their early game stabilization and development. This is a hand with a plan. I'll have a snare up on turn 1. I'll have a Stoneforge for turn 2. And then a Stoneforge for turn 3 after the first one gets swordsed. And then after all that's said and done, I can Brainstorm. Or I can Brainstorm on 3 and use my Stoneforge Mystic as a shuffle. I have to hit, what's it called? Actually, I don't even think I want to play the Stoneforge here. I think I just want to play the first one with Spell Snare up. That way I can't get counterspelled. So sub-edge will happen once I hit Twitch partner status. And I've been flirting with the line for that for months. So I'll get over that line sometime in the not-too-distant future. Getting Tundra there over basic planes is interesting, given that I've showed them that I'm a Wasteland deck. There's a consideration to, like, brainstorming right there to, like, get a card back, but I think I want to leave up the Flusterstorm. because if my opponent, like, brainstorms into Swords to Plowshares, then I can Flusterstorm the Swords. This is an opportunity where I think I want to brainstorm to help me plan out the next couple of turns. It's a lot of land. Probably going to put back 2 of these. Put back Island, Delta, play Strand. I'll fetch, get a Plains. I can ponder, look for a Pierce to protect my stuff. I don't hate that. So let's do that. That was more or less exactly what I wanted to happen this turn. That was awesome. Accumulated knowledge. You can draw your 1 card. That's fine. So I don't want to side out Wastelands. I still need my mana. Like, I could consider trimming 1, but I certainly don't want to do anything above that. So unfortunately, this Flusterstorm will only hit for 2 right now. I can Brainstorm and try to hit my 1 of Force of Will. But it'd have to be my 3rd card down, because I have Jace, Land, X. I don't think that's worth a Brainstorm. So I think I'll just, like, play Jace with Flusterstorm back up on my turn. I really like how my Miracles player fetched out a bunch of Tundras against me. Do I accept you having a draw 2? Don't think so. Sure, you have your own Jace. The nice thing is that I'm going to get to dig to answers to your Jace first, and I have pressure on board already. I'm also going to wasteland that Tundra this turn, probably. Surgical Extraction. Alright. So I don't think I need Verdict right now. I don't feel like I need this Flooded Strand. One fetch is fine. I'll take another Brainstorm here to see if I can hit Council's Judgment. I could not. So I'll put back Strand and Wasteland. I kind of want to surgical my opponent to just figure out what's going on with their hand. And help me sculpt my turn. Because it can be really useful to just, like, play Jitte, put it on Stoneforge, crash in, force my opponent to Jace bounce. So I could just do something like Surgical on Swords to Plowshares right here. And just keep my Stoneforge safe or force my opponent into bounce mode. And then I'll know whether or not I need to leave up, like, Counterspell or Spell Snare or anything like that. Double Snapcaster. Alright, so there's a Teferi, an Entreat, 2 cast-outs that I care about. Still one back to basics for some reason. So I'll get rid of swords, I'll get rid of swords, I'll get rid of swords. So my opponent has Snap, Snap, Island. So I think I'm going to go ahead and resolve my Jitte and attack in. And my opponent will go for a Snapcaster Disenchant, at which point I'll just Spell Snare it. Yes, I run Thraben University. Right, well, my opponent thinks through this. Oh, now they're doing something. Do I want to Jace Brainstorm before Wastelanding? I think I do. Wow. So this will prompt some sort of action from my opponent, presumably Snapcaster Mage, but maybe they've got something else going on. White, did they draw Unexpectedly Absent? So I can just Spell Snare that. I can let that resolve. Then I can hard counterspell that. And if my opponent has another counterspell, which I don't think they do, then I still have Spell Pierce. My opponent might try to, like, flash in a Snapcaster Mage as a blocker. And now I'm going to have Jace, Stoneforge, Jitte to an empty board with both of us Hellbent. That very heavily favors me. Justin, I'm very glad that you enjoyed the site. You know, it's something that I'm doing for the players. Ugh, these games have been going slow. That's only round 3. Ugh. Yeah, I can never remember what the tag is for doing it, so I always just click on the icon and put it into the chat that way. So good afternoon, everyone. My name's Phil Gallagher. I run ThrabenU University. Today we are playing with blue-white Stoneblade. I'm not in love with the build, based on what I've seen so far in 3 rounds. I kind of wish that I had just played something closer to what I had played before. But we're 2-1, so I guess I can't complain all that much. Nope. What am I doing? No, I don't need a third window of that. Yes. Okay. Let's get rid of that. I don't need that anymore. This is a fine disruptive hand. I wish I was on the play with this hand, but can't have it all. Yeah, I've been very happy with the third Brightling. Is that a tabernacle emote? That's awesome. Well, opponent, I have bad news for you. Let the record show that I am about to get, like, super omega boned if my opponent has a Phyrexian Revoker. Actually, I'm so boned by a Phyrexian Revoker, I should probably just not even play out the EE until next turn and just, like, play and crack it in one go. Yeah, I'm not going to play the EE. I'm just going to, like, do nothing with my next turn here. Because, like, if I play it this turn and then I crack it for 2 next turn, it's not like I'm really getting a ton of value. Like, I could Swords to Plowshares as well next turn, but I can take a couple of hits from basically whatever without too much going wrong. Oh, God. So my opponent is ghosting? No. That attack is so beyond weird. They wouldn't play the Vial if they were ghosting. What does this mean? I'm so confused. It means they are bad? And I'm just gonna crack this here. Actually, no, I don't really need to, right? Because the only thing I could do is put in another Mom. I could take 2 points of damage, go to 13 to prevent them from playing a third Mom. No, if they played a third Mom, I could just, like, Swords to Plowshare it. No, I don't really need to take those 2 points of damage. But the 2 points of damage don't really matter. The Mom doesn't matter either, though. I don't think they have another Vial or another Mom. Given their play pattern, they probably just would have played them out last turn, if that was the case. Oh wow, they're just on Stone Cold Nothing over there. So now my next turn I'll play Stoneforge and hold up Spell Snare. Or I can just, like, hold up Spell Snare and Swords the Mirran Crusader. I'd really prefer not to just get completely buggered by, like, Sword of Fire and Ice equip or something of that ilk. So I'm just going to hold up my interaction. Yeah, Arkin, I agree. The next list I play will probably have Back to Basics. I was playing with Back to Basics previously in this deck, but then Batterskull. Well, okay, that's happening. But it's not actually a very big deal. I think I want my own Jitte here. Like I can get a Batterskull and just like win that in the real long race. But in the short term, just like putting 2 counters on True Name is going to be disgusting. So good. Sure. So I can get Tundra, Council's Judgment away the Batterskull this turn. Or I can just, like... Basically, all my lines are fine. It's just a question of whether or not I want to let my opponent use a Wasteland on this Delta. I think if I get the Batterskull off the battlefield, the Jitte over the next couple of turns will take over the game, and I've got Swords to Plowshares for any threat that my opponent could produce. So I think I'm fine with answering this while my opponent doesn't have mana up to bounce. I mean, I thought Enchantress was pretty good pre-ban, so I imagine it's even better post-ban, but I haven't played any games with it. Verdict, Needle, Snare, maybe Path, maybe Disenchants, and Baneslayer. What don't I want? Spell Pierce isn't stellar, especially on the draw. And then I need to like make a decision about whether or not I want to play Force of Wills. If I don't play Force of Will, I can just play a like pure control deck that is relatively value oriented. And I kind of like that. It'll leave me with 2 snares and a counterspell is counter magic, and otherwise I just impact the board. How do I feel about that? I think that's fine. There aren't that many cards I want to force. Like, I want to force Vile, and I want to force, like, Cataclysm or Gideon or Brightling type cards. Maybe I need to keep some forces in respect of Brightling. But my opponent hasn't shown me that card. If I see Brightling in Game 2, I'll probably keep a Force of Will or 2 for Game 3. Bliss Stake. I'll open that in a new tab, and after this match, I'll actually take a look at what it is. This has no land, so I'm going to mulligan that. This is a weak but acceptable hand. I am primarily a Death and Taxes player. So I'm going to wait to see if my opponent tries to put in a Mother of Runes here. This is why we wait, and we play patiently. Yeah, I don't, I skimmed over that deck list quickly. I'm very skeptical that that is anywhere near consistent enough to actually work. Womp, womp, womp. So I'd really like to draw a Supreme Verdict. That would be among my best draws. Yes, that is correct. This was the second place list. I'm not a fan. I don't know that I would have gotten Batterskull there. I feel like Sword of Fire and Ice or Sword of War and Peace would be much better against this style of deck. Like, my opponent's already in the sort of situation where a sweeper is what really does them in. So, I don't know. I also would have considered just, like, attack with Stoneforge Mystic and port me off planes. My god, my opponent is extending so much into this Supreme Verdict. And no attack with a Stoneforge Mystic, so they missed a point of damage. God, I hope I spike the Supreme Verdict to punish this. No. I want to see if they show me another card, though. Like, I'm just morbidly curious if they're just going to go further in now. No. Okay. Yes, if you are looking to play one more piece of equipment in the sideboard, then Sword of War and Peace is my recommended piece of equipment. You also switch out Brightling for Click. Yeah, I can see that. It's really hard to have like triple white to play Brightling and leave it up when you're also playing these Wastelands, so that makes sense to me. This hand is going to be very good if my opponent is not on a Vile start. If they're on a Vile start, they might be able to get ahead of me. Alright. I mean, there's a lot of Rug Delver running around. I don't think I want to be without Batterskull in that sort of metagame. So this is a really good spot for me, because my opponent either has to, like, go all in on a Jitte attack right here and hope that I have, like, literally nothing, and then they trade their mom for my Stoneforge, or they play another card and I counterspell it, and then I get active Jitte. Or at least the threat of active Jitte. I'm really hoping to not have to use this fetch land this turn, though, because I don't know whether or not I need my blue source or my white source more, and I need both. No way. Blue source is the answer. Love to draw land. Land. That's good. So I think I'll play that on 1 to get rid of Mom. And then if my opponent doesn't do anything that requires an action on my part, like blowing it immediately, I just put in Jitte end of turn and go from there. Hello, opponent. Would you like to name Umezawa's Jitte when you have your own Umezawa's Jitte? I'd be okay with this. Name Jace. Alright. So I can go for the Jitte equip. I can hold up Snapcaster Counterspell. It feels kind of like my opponent has the Swords to Plowshares. So going... because otherwise they would have just named Jitte, right? The awkward thing about, like, getting Batterskull is that in order for me to put it in this turn, I'd have to fetch Tundra, and I don't like that. I don't think I'm willing to fetch a plains with this card. Because if I hit another land next turn, Baneslayer beats Revoker plus Jitte. I wonder if I'm overthinking this and my opponent is just going to draw a card end of turn with Horizon Canopy. Okay, that's fine. Like, I'm just one Swords to Plowshares away from taking over this game. Or one land. You know, whatever. And, like, if that card eats a Swords to Plowshares, that means Baneslayer Angel doesn't. Okay. That's an interesting play. I think that's the thing that would be pushing you ahead on board, but what do I know? I would have named Stoneforge Mystic there, so I couldn't, like, in any world get a Batterskull going, like, without hitting another land. So I can hold up Snapcaster Counterspell, or I can play Stoneforge Mystic, fetch my Batterskull, and hold up Spell Snare. I think I just get this, because, like, Jitte's not active, so that's great for me. I wonder if that means, like, my opponent has... No, I shouldn't overthink their plays, given how I saw them play in Game 1. Ah. See, now my opponent realizes that Jitte is a good card, and they would like to use Jitte. So I'll just take this too. Please play a 2-drop. A Crusader. It's not the end of the world. Alright, that's Plains, so that's awesome. Okay, what are the merits of my lines this turn? I can just slam the Baneslayer Angel. And it's very clear my opponent doesn't have swords right now. Or I can hold up, like, Snap, Counterskull, and Batterskull. I can hold up a lot of things by not taking any action. And I should probably just not take any action accordingly. And I can just, like, wait to do the Baneslayer Angel until I'm in a slightly better position. Okay, in case they draw Port, playing the Baneslayer now while I can is a good argument. But to counter that, if they draw Port, do I care? I don't like, I'm not too worried about my life total. Alright. Chat, you want this. Let's see how Twitch chat plays out this game. I think it's better to just pass the turn, but it's not like I'm not going to play this Baneslayer, given the opportunity. Well, those are some great Magic the Gathering cards. I have a wealth of riches now. So I think I'm going to put back the No. I'll put back the Snapcaster and the Brightling, and I can go attack with Bane's. Oh no, this would be 8 damage. So I can go path the one on Jitte, equip my Baneslayer, attack in for 5, get 2 counters. Or I can just, like, be patient, wait a turn, and go path this, Snapcaster path that, equip Baneslayer Angel the following turn, and then just, like, have this game completely 100% locked up. Yeah, I think I'm going to play this patiently. I think the game is now over. So I just need to, like, not get greedy and do something that is going to result in me dying. Yeah, Disgruntled Elk, I agree. Unless my opponent has some crazy Haymaker card, we're done. Like, it would take something that's, like, Cataclysm level for me to lose this game. And if my opponent casts Cataclysm, I think I just, like, float 4 mana, let it resolve, keep Baneslayer Jitte, and then, like, path Snapcaster path or something like that. A Flicker Wisp. What would you like to do with that Flicker Wisp? You'd like to flicker that out for a turn. I accept. Does my opponent remember that I have a Batter Skull? Serious question. So now that my opponent attacked with that, I can put in Batter Skull, path the Jitte one. Yeah. Whereas, like, normally the Batter Skull would have just been bad. Now it's going to be insane. It doesn't matter how much I attack for. The Flicker Wisp is not relevant to the game anymore. Like, this Baneslayer has first strike. So I go Snapcaster, Path, and Equip. So my opponent might use the Jitte to kill their own Flicker Wisp there. That makes sense to me. Okay. Oh shit. Did not really expect that. Wow. Alright, didn't really expect that to happen. So immediately after I played my Snapcaster, I regretted doing it, because I didn't really need to kill the Revoker that was on Jace that turn, but I'd already started, so I had to finish it. So I probably just punted that one away. so I'm on the play. I can't cast my Brainstorm. I don't really have anything to do other than cast a Jitte with no creatures to put it on, so I'm going to mulligan this one. I'll keep this. I'm still not happy with this. I'm not going to ponder yet. I don't know what I am looking for, so I'm going to keep my ponder as Force of Will fodder in case my opponent is like a hyper quick combo deck. I'm going to hold Force for hold Ponder for Force Fodder for a Thought-Knot Seer, which might be coming down on this turn, rather than play it. I don't want to, like, gamble looking for a different blue card and trying to get some degree of filtering, because a Thought-Knot Seer taking my Brightling is game over. And now that I'm going to play Brightling, I want as many white sources as possible. Okay, so I can give Brightling Vigilance, attack with it, no blocks, pump, lifelink. Smasher isn't that big of a deal. Like, it's gonna sting. Warping Whale is not currently popular now. Okay, so I can just get a Jitte, but I think I want to get Batterskull. Like, Batterskull on Brightling is absurd. I'll open myself up to a Thought-Knot for a turn, but I think that's fine. This is a turn where I kind of need to dodge something big. Yep. Do I want to chump block to gain 5 life? Probably. It's about as much as I can expect to cash my Stoneforge in for. So since my opponent started to tap that land, that might mean they have Dismember, so I'm not going to get greedy and try to gain the 1 life. So I could give Vigilance, attack, and trade with Thought Not Seer, gain a bunch of life. So if my opponent blocks, I don't know that I actually can afford to trade. I can give Vigilance, attack, and my opponent blocks. I buff my toughness by 2 and gain lifelink. No, I think my mana is better spent defensively. And also, if my opponent just doesn't block and I gain 5, I go up to 18, and then they smack me for 11, so that's not going to favor me long term. Am I willing to trade with the Thought Not Seer now? It'll get me another card, but then it also unlocks the Mishra's Factory and Eldrazi Mimic. I don't know that I can take 9. If my opponent does have the Dismember, like I suspect, then it's very bad. The lifelink does go further on the defensive, though. I can also just, like, chump bounce, or, like, just gain some life. I think I need to leave the Brightling on board. So I can block Thought Knot, pump Puff, Toughness, gain 1. And I'm only taking 4 this turn, and I can reevaluate on the next turn. Ooh, buddy. Alright, so I can give Vigilance, attack, and... Yeah, I like that. This is maybe not as good of a plan as I thought it was. I forgot about the factory. Shit. I was so focused on the fact that, like, I had protection from a dismember that I fucked that up. Now I'm just gonna die. Oh, fucked up. So I should have just equipped and passed. Why did I not get it? Oh my god, I F6 to not... Alright. I was dead anyway. Thought I F2'd. No, not well played on my end. Alright. This. Consider one more pierce. Brightling's great. I just fucked up with using it there. Alright. I don't really know how I want to board. Like, I kind of want to keep the pierces for Chalice. But maybe if I have, like, Disenchants and EE, I don't need to do that. And I should just ignore, like, the Pierce and... Oh, what's it called? Sorcerer Spyglass aspects and just play a more fairer game. So if I do this, I'd leave myself with EE, Disenchant, Council's Judgment says out to that. So I can not board that. That looks pretty good. And then I would just need to trim one more card. I can see myself tapping out quite a bit, so maybe it's Counterspell. I think I either cut Counterspell or I just trim one Ponder. Brightling was not better than True Name that game. In this deck, without a doubt, True Name is better than Brightling. I think I'm comfortable saying that. It's a great hand. But it's probably one where I need to be fetching non-basic lands to make this mana work. Oh man, no turn one play is absolutely stellar for me. I almost want to Brainstorm right here because I'm very likely to Counterspell on turn 2. I think I want to do that. Chalice is fine. I will just disenchant that. I think I'm comfortable fetching a basic plains. And now I have to decide whether or not I want to just like play a Stoneforge Mystic here, or whether I'd like to hold up a counterspell. Miracle's matchup has been solid with D&T. Small sample size though, so I don't want to say anything authoritative. I haven't given my opponent the chance to play Thought Knots here yet, and I don't really want to like play Stoneforge Mystic and lose my Batterskull. So keeping in mind the fact that I had Counterspell, maybe I was supposed to not fetch Plains and I was supposed to fetch Tundra, so that even if I got wasted, it didn't matter. Do I want to Counterspell this? Probably. It's just going to be annoying as the game goes long. It's something that I could opt to play around. I don't think that's necessary to do so. I'm going to Brainstorm and try to hit a land. Did not. This hand is insane, though. I almost don't want to shuffle anything away. I think I'll put back second Stoneforge and Snapcaster Mage. This hand is hot. I very rarely board out Brightling in D&T. Sometimes I do, but it's a very good card. Wow, this is a really tough Brainstorm. Like, I'm almost tempted to just put back like Stoneforge past the turn so that I can keep like plow, snap, plow, verdict, and have force in case something else goes wrong. I think I'm going to do that. You have an Eldrazi Mimic. Good job. Sure, that's fine. Well, I can't counter that, so that happens. But I don't actually care all that much. I can put in Batterskull this turn, or Swords Snap Swords if necessary. I can also mop it up with Verdict if my opponent plays another creature. I'll take that 5. That's great. So many factories. Endless one for 7, you say. So how do I want to approach this? I can just Supreme Verdict away both of those, or I could put in Batterskull, play Snapcaster. Snapcaster swords the one that's 7, attacking for 5, like Batterskull chump for a turn, and then Verdict. I kind of want to put my Batterskull into play. And try to ride just a tiny bit more value out of the Verdict. And I'll attack like this so that if I move Batterskull over to Stoneforge after like double blocking here or something like that, I can have something that has 6 toughness instead of 5, which is relevant for Reality Smasher math. So if I move the Batterskull over to Stoneforge Mystic, I can produce 6 power, or 5 power, so I'd only trade for, like, 1 factory. If I move it to Stoneforge Mystic, I can trade with an endless one, or with 2 factories. I kind of like attack with Batterskull, move it to Stoneforge Mystic, and pass the turn. Then I don't throw away a creature just yet, and I gain some bonus life. I'm fine with accepting that trade. So now my opponent can like try to get in there with a couple of Mishra's factories, and I can just like bounce the Batterskull and redeploy it. At this point, do I care about the Thorn? I don't believe that I do. I can play patiently and just like put the Batterskull in and hold up Force of Will, which is probably better than tapping out for Baneslayer Angel. So I'll put in Batterskull this turn and then Baneslayer Angel the following turn. Alright, you have an Eldrazi Mimic. I'm fine with trading this for a land. My opponent would like to do that. It's just free value for me. Oh, is this just... Oh, triple pump. I see. Alright, I walked into something that was on board. Doesn't really matter, though. Like, just gaining this 4 life here is still pretty insane. I didn't get to put the Batterskull on the Baneslayer Angel. I wanted to do that. I'm gonna grab some water real quick. What do I think of this hand? Thank you very much for subscribing. I'm not sure how exactly to pronounce your name, but I do appreciate your support. So this hand is good against a Chalice. It has multiple pieces of removal. It is a little slow, though. So we'll see if I just get, like, bowled over. No Thalia, but we do have Brightling. I'm going to go ahead and just fire off a Brainstorm here. I want to... Not a great set of cards here. I'll probably waste... I don't even know if I can afford to wasteland. Like, I really just need to get to 4 and cast Supreme Verdict and clear out the board. So I can shuffle one of these away. I'll shuffle away the Force. I'm not willing to pitch the Verdict. So I'll shuffle away the Force, and then it doesn't matter which other one of these I do. So if I wasteland my opponent here, I take 5, then I'll go back to 2 lands, then I'll take 5, then I'll go to 3 lands, then I'll take 5, and then I'll go to 1, and I can Verdict. But if my opponent plays literally anything else, that doesn't happen. So I might need to just... So I'm going to need to fetch. I don't want to draw that Force. So maybe I should fetch... Yeah, the fetch is obligatory so I don't draw the Force. maybe my opponent will be kind enough to play something that I can disenchant on this turn. That'd be optimal. That's a great draw. I'm going to operate under the assumption that I can Verdict next turn. So I'll just hold up Swords to Plowshares and pass. And hopefully Swords that Factory. Otherwise, I'll Swords the Matter Reshaper, just so it doesn't get a Dies trigger. Oh, that is not good. That is very not good. So that takes the Verdict. Gonna be under some pressure here. Yep. Please animate factory, please animate factory. Yes! Alright, so how do I want to do this? This is an artifact, right? It is. So I'll disenchant this. That's going to happen for sure. Then I should probably Swords Matter Reshaper. Then Council's Judgment Thought-Knot Seer. Oh boy. Am I willing? Do I want to Wasteland this turn? No, probably not. It's probably greedy. Okay. So I can Swords Eldrazi Mimic this turn, and then EE that endless one to get rid of it. My life total is low enough that I accept this, like giving them a card. Yeah, that's fine. I'll take 3. And I'm really hoping my opponent doesn't have another Dismember here, but I get really far ahead if this works. I guess I could have looked for a Swords there to get the kill exactly this turn. Eldrazi Temple, that can go to the battlefield, that's fine. Put back land, and Brainstorm. Play a Stoneforge Mystic, use its ability, yes. Jete, fetch, land. I can just cast this Jete now, just so I can F6. Huzzah. Alright, so I 3-2'd that one, but it probably could have been a 4-1 pretty easily. I wasn't winning my match against Arkin. He played very, very well there. But the one against the D&T player, if I would have slowed down a little bit, that was probably winnable. The D&T player I was playing against didn't play particularly well, but I did a misplay in the penultimate turn that was costly. I thought I was so far ahead that it didn't matter, but it did. All right, so let's review this deck list. I don't like it. So as a whole, I was not happy with the Wastelands in this deck, and I would just rather be playing more basics and back to basics as well. So I don't think I want to revisit this. I don't think Brightling is better than True Name in this specific shell. The sideboard did feel really good, though. I did quite like the sideboard. So if I were going to play this moving forward, I'd swap a Brightling for a True Name. I'd probably cut 2 lands and turn them into Back to Basics or other copies of True Name Nemesis, and that's about where I'd be with that. I'd also consider like trimming 1 Spell Pierce. Like 4 in the 75 is a lot, despite how good that is. There's a lot of Stoneblade lists available online. There was like 5 or 6 in the SCG stuff and the Legacy Challenge as well. So if you're interested in this archetype, that's a good place to look. I'll give those another look, and then I'll do another Stoneblade stream sometime soon. I hope you all enjoyed this today. My name is Phil Gallagher. I run ThrabenU University, and I'm in the Legacy Premier League this season. I hope you enjoyed this today. If so, please follow my channel so you know when I'm going live. I don't really have a consistent stream schedule right now because it's the summer and I just kind of do it when I feel like it. There will be a new article going up on ThrabenU either tonight or tomorrow. I've got a pair of guest tournament reports, so I'm working on editing the first of those now. That'll be up later today or tomorrow, just kind of whenever I get to it. And if you're really enjoying my content, please consider donating to my cause or subscribing to my channel to support what I'm doing. And I'm getting pretty close to followers for a Soldier Stompy stream. So thanks, everyone. I hope you have a good afternoon.